The city skyline glittered beyond the glass wall of my office, each light reminding me how far I'd come from the girl who once vanished with nothing but 3 cardboard boxes. The hum of late-night traffic floated up 20 stories, muted but steady, like a heartbeat. I loosened the silk blouse at my collarbone and sank into the leather chair, staring at my phone as it buzzed across the desk. Her name lit the screen.
Mom.
I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not yet. It had been years since that night, the night she told me, "If you leave, don't come back." And I listened. I left and I never did. But tonight, her voice had slipped through my voicemail, trembling in a way I'd never heard before. Something about needing to see me, about regret, about time running out. I replayed it 3 times, my thumbs shaking against the cool glass. I'd built this life brick by brick, CEO of my own firm, name on the door, staff who respected me, friends who loved me. And yet, just hearing her voice cracked something I thought I'd sealed years ago. I ran my fingers over the smooth edge of a crystal paperweight, grounding myself. My reflection in the window looked polished, unshaken, but inside, the hurt still burned. The irony wasn't lost on me. The woman who once said I wasn't enough now wanted me back. And here I was, wondering if I could face the past without unraveling. I was 19 the night everything shattered. The house smelled of lemon cleaner and burnt toast, like it always did when Mom was nervous. My duffel bag sat half-zipped on my bed, clothes spilling out like a confession I hadn't yet made. When I finally walked into the kitchen, she was waiting, arms crossed, lips pressed thin, eyes sharp enough to slice through me. "Where do you think you're going?" she asked, though we both knew the answer. My voice trembled. "Mom, I got the scholarship. I have to take it. This is my chance." Her hand slapped the counter, rattling the salt shaker. "Chance? You think running off to some city, chasing pipe dreams, makes you better than us?" The words lodged in my throat like stones. My hands shook as I gripped the strap of my bag tighter. I wasn't trying to be better, I was just trying to be me. "Mom, please," I whispered. "I can't stay here and shrink anymore." Her face hardened. "If you walk out that door, don't you dare come back." Silence hung heavy between us, broken only by the ticking clock on the wall. My chest ached, but I forced my feet to move. One step, then another. I packed quietly 3 boxes, one of books and journals, one of clothes, one of keepsakes. The last box was the hardest. Inside, I placed a silver locket my grandmother had given me, engraved with the words, "Keep going." She had whispered it in my ear before she passed, telling me I was stronger than I knew. That locket was the only blessing I carried with me when I closed the front door behind me. The night air was sharp, filling my lungs with freedom and grief all at once. I remember the sound of my sneakers crunching the gravel as I dragged the boxes to my old Toyota. Each step felt like tearing away a piece of myself. I sat behind the wheel, hands trembling on the steering wheel, tears streaking my face. The porch light glowed behind me, but no one came to the door.
Not to stop me. Not to hold me. Not to say goodbye.
So I left, vanished into the dark, my whole life condensed into 3 boxes, and a hope that I could make something out of the pieces Mom said weren't enough. Those first months felt like survival more than living. My Toyota became part storage unit, part sanctuary. The boxes slid around in the back seat as I bounced between a friend's couch in Brooklyn and a cheap room I could barely afford in Queens. Dinner was often instant noodles or whatever I could grab at the corner bodega for under $5. There were nights I cried into a styrofoam cup of black coffee at a 24-hour diner, staring at my reflection in the greasy window, wondering if Mom was right. Maybe I wasn't strong enough. Maybe I should have stayed, swallowed my dreams, lived small. But every time doubt clawed at me, I held the silver locket. "Keep going," my grandmother's voice echoed. And somehow I did. I took any job I could, waiting tables, handing out flyers on the street, even cleaning offices overnight. Exhaustion lived in my bones, but so did fire. On one of those late nights, while emptying trash cans in a downtown office, I found myself staring at rows of desks, screens glowing with spreadsheets and presentations. Something inside me whispered, I belong here. Not as the cleaner, as the decision maker. That whisper became a mission. I enrolled in night classes at a community college, juggling shifts and assignments. Most mornings, I walked into lectures with chipped nail polish, ink stains on my fingers, and the faint smell of coffee clinging to my hoodie. Still, I sat in the front row, hungry for every word. It wasn't glamorous. I stumbled. I failed exams. I missed trains. But I never quit. Then came the mentor. Professor Adams, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s with a voice that carried authority, noticed me staying late after class, practicing presentations alone. You've got grit, she said one night, tapping her red pen against my half-finished business plan. And grit beats talent every time. Don't waste it. Those words became my anchor. She introduced me to internship opportunities, wrote letters that opened doors, and reminded me to keep showing up even when rejection felt unbearable. My first internship was unpaid, but I treated it like gold. I learned how to pitch ideas, how to hold my own in rooms full of men who underestimated me, how to negotiate with my chin high even when my knees shook under the table. The first time I closed a deal for the firm, the client shook my hand before anyone else's. I went home and ate microwaved mac and cheese, but it tasted like victory. With each step, I built. A part-time consulting gig turned into freelance contracts. Freelance contracts turned into referrals. And slowly, I shaped my own company out of nothing more than stubbornness and late nights. Still, online, I stayed quiet. On social media, I posted modest updates. Doing well, keeping busy, hope everyone's healthy. Never the full story. Never the real scale of what I was building. Because deep down, I didn't want Mom or anyone back home to know until I was unshakable. Until no one could take it from me. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon, one of those days where the city buzz felt sharper, louder, like the world was bracing for something. I had just wrapped a board meeting when my assistant poked her head into my office. There's a family here to see you. They said it's urgent. For a moment, my chest froze.
Family.
I hadn't heard that word connected to me in years. Still, I nodded, smoothing the front of my navy blazer. My pulse raced, but my face stayed calm. The mask I'd perfected over the years. When I stepped into the reception area, there they were. Mom, standing stiff with her purse clutched tight. My younger brother Mark, taller now, eyes darting nervously, and Aunt Denise, the one who used to whisper behind closed doors that I'd never last in the city. The silence was heavy, almost theatrical. Mom's eyes swept over me, then around the space. Floor-to-ceiling windows poured sunlight over polished wood floors. A massive abstract painting dominated the wall, a piece I'd bought after my first $1 million deal. Sleek glass tables held vases of fresh orchids. Everything spoke of success, independence, elegance. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I let the pause stretch. I wanted them to see, to absorb the life I had carved from the ashes of rejection. Finally, I gestured toward the conference room. Let's talk. Inside, they sat awkwardly in leather chairs while I remained standing at the head of the long glass table. My heels clicked against the floor as I crossed to pour myself a glass of water, the sound echoing louder than I expected. Mark broke the silence first. Wow, sis, I didn't know you. You didn't know because I didn't tell you. I cut in, my tone even. None of you ever asked. Mom shifted uncomfortably. We thought you were struggling. We thought you might come home eventually if things didn't work out. A bitter laugh slipped from my throat before I could stop it. Come home? After you told me not to? Her face reddened. She gripped her purse tighter, as if it might hold the right words. I was scared, Emily. You were just a girl. I didn't think you could survive on your own. Well, I did more than survive, I said, setting my glass down with a soft thud. I built this. From 3 boxes and nothing else. I watched the truth settle over them. Their eyes darted from the high-end decor to the branded folders stacked neatly on the table with my company's name embossed in silver. My name. You own this. Aunt Denise finally whispered. I built this. I corrected. Every inch of it. The contracts, the clients, the team outside these walls, all of it is mine. The silence that followed was deafening. For years, I had dreamed of this moment, of their disbelief, their shock, their shame. But standing there, I realized I wasn't chasing revenge. I was standing in my truth. Mom's chin quivered. Emily, I didn't know. I held up a hand. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. Her eyes filled, but she didn't look away. For the first time in my life, she looked smaller than me, not physically, but in presence. And for the first time, I didn't shrink in her shadow. I leaned forward, resting my palms on the glass table. You told me if I left, not to come back.
And I didn't.
But now you're here. So tell me, why? Mom swallowed hard, her voice cracking. Because I don't want to lose you forever. And just like that, the power shifted. For years, I had imagined this moment, how it would feel to finally have the upper hand. Yet standing there, with my mother's voice trembling across the conference room table, I felt a strange mix of power and ache. You didn't want me then, I said slowly, measuring each word. But you want me now. Why should I let you back in? Mark leaned forward, his hands clasped. Because we miss you, Emily. We were wrong. I was a kid, I didn't understand. But Mom cut him off with a glance, then turned back to me. Her eyes were wet, but steady. I was harsh. I was afraid of watching you fail, maybe because I was already living with my own failures. And instead of supporting you, I pushed you away. I can't take that back. But I can tell you I regret it every day. Her words cracked something inside me, but I didn't let it show. I had learned to protect myself too well. I took a breath. If you want to be in my life now, there are conditions. I won't bend to the old patterns. Not anymore. They waited. First, I said firmly, looking at Mom, you have to respect the choices I make. No more dismissing me, no more ultimatums. If you want to speak to me, it has to be as equals. She nodded quickly, tears slipping down her cheeks. Second, I turned to Mark. You need to stop living in my shadow. You're talented. You've always loved music. Stop pretending you don't. If you want a relationship with me, I expect you to chase your own dream instead of resenting mine. He blinked, surprised. Then a slow, embarrassed smile tugged at his lips. You remembered that? Of course I did, I said softly. I remember everything. Finally, I looked at Aunt Denise. Her mouth was already pursed, defensive. And you, I said, if you want to stay connected, you need to drop the gossip. No more whispering about me. No more comparing me to others at family dinners. If you can't celebrate me, stay silent. She shifted, clearly stung, but gave a stiff nod. I leaned back, folding my arms. These aren't negotiations. They're boundaries. If you can respect them, we can rebuild something. If not, this is where it ends. The weight of my words settled over the room like thick air. For once, they were the ones uncertain, the ones waiting for my decision. Mom's voice wavered. I'll do it. I'll respect you, Emily. I swear. Mark's nod was firmer, determination flickering in his eyes. I'll go after music. No more excuses. Even Aunt Denise, with her sharp tongue, muttered, Fine. No more gossip. A strange peace washed over me. Not because their promises fixed the past, but because I finally understood the truth. I didn't need their approval anymore. I never had. But if they wanted to earn a place in my future, it would be on my terms. In the weeks that followed, I watched carefully. I wasn't expecting miracles. People don't transform overnight. But I saw small cracks in the old patterns, tiny shifts that mattered more than they realized. Mark sent me a voice memo one evening, him strumming a guitar, singing a song he'd written. His voice was raw, unpolished, but honest. I'm going to audition at a local bar next month, he said, pride and nerves mingling in his tone. For the first time, he wasn't hiding. Aunt Denise surprised me, too. At a family gathering I reluctantly attended, I overheard her cut someone off when they tried to make a snide remark. Emily built her own company from scratch, she said firmly. That's not up for debate. Her words carried more weight than I expected. And Mom, she tried. Our conversations were awkward, sometimes stilted, but she was listening more than speaking now. Once, she admitted softly, I used to think strength meant control, but you showed me it's the opposite. It wasn't an apology in the way I had always wanted, but it was a beginning. One evening, alone in my apartment, I opened the drawer where I kept the silver locket. I held it in my palm, tracing the engraving with my thumb.
Keep going.
That phrase had carried me through nights of hunger, years of doubt, and the ache of rejection. Now, it reminded me of something else, that survival had grown into success, and success into freedom. I walked to the balcony, city lights stretching endlessly before me, and fastened the locket around my neck. Not because I needed the reminder anymore, but because I wanted to honor the girl who once drove into the night with only 3 boxes and a fragile hope. I thought about the ultimatum that started it all. If you leave, don't come back. The irony made me smile. Leaving hadn't been the end. It was the beginning. And now, as the wind tugged gently at my hair, I whispered to myself, like a vow, like a promise to every woman who's ever been told she couldn't. I left. I vanished. And I built a life worth coming back to on my terms.